It's alright. I'm rating it as episode 9 because I messed up the last one. I put it at 7, so there's 2 7s. It's actually 8. I'm going to put on the Distractible podcast because I don't talk enough for you guys to probably stay intrigued. Oh wait, this is a I need to go to Distractible and list the first one first. We'll play the first one.
Good evening, gentle listener, and welcome to Distractible, a Wood Elf production. This week, the gents kick off at Ilium with Dynamite. Ever victorious Wade is in charge and acts the part of Zeus. Mark is recovering and to test movie games, but adores replay and jump scares. And Bob, the FPS monster, dislikes open spaces and souls. From Gary's mod to Pokemon, The Last of Us to Zelda. Yes, it's time for video game tier lists. Now, sit back and prepare to be distracted and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Distractible. I'm your host today, Wade, and I'm joined by my friends Mark and Bob. Hey boys.
Oh, hey.
Do I talk about Schliemann now or later?
What in God's name is Schliemann?
Schliemann. Okay, you clearly have something you want to talk about, so I guess go for it.
You don't know about Schliemann?
What is Schliemann?
I have a guess, but I doubt it's what you're thinking Schliemann is.
Heinrich Schliemann?
I haven't even talked about what this podcast is yet, but you know what? Forget it.
Known archaeologist, discoverer of Troy?
Troy?
Mm-hmm.
The movie?
The person that we went to school with?
No, the city!
Oh, was it gone?
It is now!
Oh.
After Heinrich got done with it.
Oh, God.
Just tell us what you're gonna... I have any idea what the hell you're on about.
What did Schliemann do to Troy?
Oh, what didn't Schliemann do
I
to
thought-
Troy? Schliemann.
I thought I heard
Schliemann?
Schliemann.
Schliemann.
Schlimmenmore, that's a point for Gryffindor.
I tell you what he didn't do.
That's still tasteful.
Keep it intact. That's what he didn't do. Why would it not be tasteful to make Harry Potter references?
I don't know.
get why. I understand why. Shut up.
This crate rock. This part is fire.
2 minutes in and we're canceled.
Excellent railroading, sir. Continue.
Anyway, so Troy, everyone thought it was fake and all that, but then Henry Schliemann said, nah, that's real, and I'm gonna prove it with dynamite.
Oh.
And so he put a bunch of dynamite in a train or a cart or something, and he wheeled it over to where he thought Troy was, and he just started blowing it up. Boom, bam.
Wait, this guy had a train and a train rail headed for where he thought Troy was, loaded with explosives. He pulls a little chain and choo-choo, the thing drives into like an unmarked spot and blows up.
No, I said or a cart or something. I said or a
Uncultured
cart.
fool. Do you not know how mine carts work?
Yeah, come on.
Haven't you ever played Minecraft where you learn about the intricacies of mine carts?
Yeah, we spawned in dynamite. We didn't roll it in.
He spawned in dynamite and put it in his mine cart,
He sure did.
for which he built the track by his own hand, I'm sure.
And where he thought Troy was.
Well, he thought right, obviously.
And he was right.
That's good. That's good for him, I guess.
He was right. It was good for him, bad for everyone else because he blew up the majority of Troy trying to get to the deep layers of it.
So his approach was dynamite the absolute hell out of it until you reach the basement of Troy?
Yes, and he did. We got to the basement.
What do you think was going to be in the basement?
Is there a better way in 2022? Is there not a better way of going to blowing up the entire
You think back then, probably not. Yeah, no, with modern technology, it was thing? You didn't hear about that?
I don't keep up with the news. It could have been. I don't know.
Well, this is old news now. If only he had the power of Intel and the technology that they are fueling to be able to look inside deep layers of the Earth with advanced sonography.
I guess that's true. I guess technology is very helpful nowadays, where we don't just have to point at a spot on the map and say, throw the TNT, it's probably there.
That's how all science actually was. Marine biologists would just row a boat out into the ocean and just start dropping TNT in there, see what floated up.
You know, that's not entirely not how it happened.
Early medicine involved a lot of small TNT, looked kind of like firecrackers, but they were actually called medical sticks back in the day.
People are always like, man, I miss the good old days. And then I look at how barbaric we were even like a decade ago, and it's like, I don't.
We were alive a decade. What did you do that was barbaric a decade ago? Just curious.
What happened a decade ago to you?
I don't know. I don't remember yesterday. I'm just throwing an arbitrary date out there.
Found this small animal in the woods, and he was deeply injured. And I was like, get the leeches.
Get the leeches.
Oh, God.
Get the leeches. Put dynamite in their mouths.
The squirrel has fallen.
Ah, their blood is impure. Bleed them and then fill their blood back up in the other arm. I guess that's what they do, kind of.
How do you think leeches work?
I don't know.
I believe you're referring to dialysis.
No, thank God we live in modern times with modern technology. Imagine some centuries from now, humanity looks back and is like, can you believe how brutal they were in the early 2000s?
Yeah, they probably will.
The first half of the 21st century, can you imagine all the dumb stuff they did?
Fix their vision. They would cut into their eyeballs and shoot them with lasers. My goodness.
Meanwhile, Schliemann over here invented the Klein bottle leech. It just like loops blood back through itself and right into your body again. An infinite loop of blood.
Yum. And he blew you up if that didn't work.
Yeah, of course.
I'm glad technology is at least a lot more wonderful now than it was in the 1800s.
Yes.
Thanks to Intel.
Now Troy 2 will not suffer the same fate as Troy 1.
I thought you meant Troy also, and then you said the rest of your sentence, and I was like, oh no, he means Troy number 2.
Yes, of course.
Oh,
Troy number
okay.
2. Sorry, I should have specified.
Well, it's been like 200 years. Has Troy grown back?
Probably. Someone check.
Oh, good. Okay. That's how buildings, I think, work. Or maybe they will. Maybe technology will be so wonderful that destroyed buildings will just grow themselves back.
That's why they say when humanity leaves, nature reclaims itself. The buildings all grow back like they used to be.
It's true, it's true. How wonderful is that?
Oh, so wonderful.
This spot brought to you by Intel.
What were you saying, Wade?
Yeah, what were we saying?
I was gonna rewind all the way back and actually explain to the new listeners what the show is about.
Oh, no one cares.
All right. Well, basically, one of us wins, and then they host the next episode, and the host decides what the episode's about and how the points are assigned. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Plenty things just sets expectations.
Yeah.
No
I know.
expectations.
Keep it brief. So I guess I don't know, small talk. Anything interesting going on other than our lovely archaeologist from the 1800s?
I'm sick.
Real sick.
I'll get better. What about you, Rob?
I'm in a new office.
Great.
And not but 3 hours ago, it didn't have air conditioning, but now it's nicely chilled.
So rich, you have 2 side yards and an office. Great. Love to hear it.
Got one side yard, but okay.
Didn't that something you said in the fridge episode? I'm so rich, I have 2 side yards.
Yeah, well, one of the things,
That's a direct quote.
one of the areas that goes around my house is not wide enough for a fridge to fit through, so it's really a side yard. It's more of a sidewalk, but not a sidewalk, like a sidewalk.
Right.
No.
Well, my neck and my back hurt. So small talk. We're all doing great. We're all happy. We're all healthy.
But you're cracking that other part in that song.
What? Wait, what?
What? Never mind.
Yeah, I know what you're going on about. Wait, finish it. Finish it. Wait, finish it.
Your neck, your back.
I don't know what I'm
Your
fin-
penis and your crack.
Yes.
Oh, that song.
How was that more explanatory than what else I said?
Yeah, what would you think he said than that thing that he said?
Doesn't matter, because I'm the host, and I'm going to segue us immediately away from me being embarrassed about my lack of understanding.
Okay.
So, a lot of you guys seem to either love or hate some of the episodes that I've hosted that involve the tier list.
There's been one.
So, I've decided to throw fire. I guess there's only been one. I decided to throw more fire on the flame. No, lightning on the. I decided fuel on the fire.
I mean, if you can throw more fire onto the flames, that probably would make the fire bigger if you have that power.
If you could throw lightning onto things, I want to know about this.
I'm going to throw more lightning onto the fuel to make a flame.
Wow, that's
And we are going to do a tier list today. Listen, we're not at 100% today, gentle listeners, so just give us a break. Rate this episode 10 out of 10 and like on Spotify and Apple. I don't know what you do on these things.
Rate 5 stars, please. I don't get as many trips on Uber if you don't.
Yeah, give us 5-star rating
on our Yelp page. Do we have a Yelp?
God, I hope so.
Could we have a Yelp?
I hope so.
Can we get a listing on Angie's List so that people can call us if they need comedy and or offensive ad reads?
I don't know who Angie is, but maybe she works with Slimy. And if so, give us a 5 out of 5 there too. But our tier list topic today is one that is dear to many of our listeners who will follow us over from YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and so on and so forth. And that is a gaming tier list. We are going to be ranking some of the games we have. Some you guys haven't played, I haven't played. We're gonna get through as many of these as possible. This is a tough list. I went through and scoured a few different gaming tier lists to figure out what games were ranked and not ranked yet.
What games were worth discussing? Anyone not on this list is garbage.
Yeah, according to Wade's judgment.
And it turns out there are hundreds that are worth discussing. We don't have time to do that in one episode. So we're going to get through as many as we can. I'm sure a lot of you, your favorite games, the best game of all time, I will somehow not cover. This will off. Well, just let us know on the Reddit. Maybe we can do a follow-up episode on this and just add to it later on. There's only so many games we can get to in, half an hour to an hour or whatever. So I did my best. We're going to do our best, but I'm sure a lot of you will be disappointed. Maybe we'll do a part 2 if enough of you like this one and tell us, what games you'd like to see rated.
Hey, it's Drew Off Wallow. Y'all know me, right? The absolute menace to all terrible men on your For You page. Well, if you haven't heard, my weekly podcast, The Comment Section Show, is now available exclusively in audio and video right here on Spotify. Tune in each week as I welcome incredible guests and dive absolutely balls deep into the comment section of our tagged videos. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. Watch and listen to The Comment Section free now, only on Spotify. Bye!
Can't get enough true crime?
So
Well, now you can sharpen your detective skills with thousands of true crime audiobooks on Spotify. Choose from more than 300,000 titles by authors that will leave you begging.
This episode is brought.
The way this ranking is going to work is I have a section at the top for the standard of the genre. When you think of a horror genre, what game is the standard you compare all other horror games to? Only those titles will make it into that section. After that, there's S tier, A tier, B, C, D, F, and have not played. So we have quite a section here, but that's because there's going to be so many games that I felt like we needed multiple. And I do feel like there, at least for a lot of genres, there is the game you compare all other games to that come out in that genre.
Well,
it is pretty bold to make a declaration like that, so we would have to be prepared to throw a lot of lightning on a lot of flames if we're going to make a declaration.
We have to have a lot of fuel for our lightning flame chickens, and I think that we are prepared to carry the torch. And if anyone disagrees out there with us, well, this is a subjective ranking, so obviously you're feel free to, but
nah, you're the host. You get all the blame and or credit.
Yeah, this is Wade's fault.
Wade's fault. All of it.
Yep.
All right, so it's like everything else we do. Excellent. Let's begin because there's a lot to get through.
Okay.
All right, so our first game we are going to rate, I think, should be one we've played a lot over the years, Garry's Mod. Let's start with Garry's Mod.
Oh, I was looking at this one.
All of the game modes that come with it.
Yeah, I have a lot of caveats to what I think about Garry's Mod.
Okay.
It depends on the context that we're talking about. And I would say for this purposes of this list, there's no specific thing. It's not like the best game design or the best, game someone has put out, objectively, things are all polished and they work.
This makes
It's
no
like
sense.
a combination of how much you enjoyed it, what it has, what it released with, but also DLC and or mods. I feel like Garry's Mod, if you look at it on day one when it came out, it's barely even a game.
Yeah.
And I don't know the full history, but it doesn't.
I want to include that I think playing and watching are both valid aspects to rate on.
Absolutely. So like it makes me want to discount it because it's almost an empty vessel. I mean, it is empty vessel, right? It comes with a couple of standard game modes, maybe. I don't know for sure what it launched with, but the thing about Garry's Mod that makes me think it's a high tier game is that now with all of the community stuff and all of the unbelievably funny shit that I've experienced in the game, I love it. It's very good, very fun, but that's not intrinsically part of the game. That's like what people have made it, but I say that counts.
Yeah.
But somehow it makes me discount it somehow as well. Like, I don't know. How do you feel, Mark?
It's a tough one. This is a toughie right off the bat, I think.
It is a tough one because you need to acknowledge a lot of history to even get to the point where Garry's Mod does stand on its own.
Right.
It's such a fascinating set piece because of its close relationship to Half-Life 2, the modding community in general, and being one of the last like standalone mods that emerged from a different game. There are a few games that did spawn from just mods or game modes. The most iconic of which would be Dota.
Dota, probably, right?
Yeah, Dota was a Warcraft 3 game mode. Not even a mod. It was a game mode that was programmed into the game itself.
Yeah.
And yet it is now, League of Legends is probably one of the most popular games of all time.
Very possibly.
Very up
If
there.
you count the entire world, it's pretty popular, like in North America where we live. Huge in Asia Pacific region, and I
Yeah.
think in Europe, as
Yeah.
far as I know.
Absolutely.
What
Though-
genre of game is Garry's Mod even? Because there's so many different games. Like, it's infinitely whatever you want it to be. So does it even have a genre? Like, what is it?
It's like a sandbox game.
It is genre defining. It's not even sandbox because it's not a game. It is pure sandbox. It's sandbox in that you have to build your own tools, right? There's some tools that are programmed in, but the best parts of Garry's Mod, like you were talking about, are the fact that people have programmed mods for that mod. And it got so popular that Steam allowed it to be sold for profit on Steam, like Valve did, which is unheard of because it is almost entirely using assets from their game Half-Life 2. It has expanded beyond
Yeah,
that.
it's effectively like a mod. Is that accurate? Or like a spin-off of Half-Life 2 because it's based on the engine and all of the default assets are from that game, right?
It is called
Oh, well, yeah,
Garry's
okay, there you
Mod.
go. That's the thing.
Yeah, there you go.
So where do you guys rank it?
It's in its own category.
It's the standard of the genre?
Yeah, I would say it defines its own genre because there's not anything that jumps to mind that matches it in terms of the variety of stuff it can be and do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
There are certainly other sandbox games and other games that have had such flexible modding that like you could make anything like Roblox, I guess, comes to mind. Roblox is not unlike Garry's Mod in that you can essentially make any game you want in Roblox, but I feel like I don't know which came first, but for me Garry's Mod is like the defined game of that type.
Okay.
The dominant one.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to spend so long talking about it, but I'm going to move us on to the next one. But I agree. I think Garry's Mod is the standard for a lot of those types of games. How many prop hunt games have come out? And it's like, well, this is fun, but I mean, there's more you can do with Garry's Mod. You know, people always go back to the original, the one that set the standard. So I would agree. I think Garry's Mod is a standard setter. Okay, let's do Pokemon. Now, Pokemon has all kinds of games. There's obviously been like 7, 8 generations of Pokemon games. There's Pokemon Stadium, there's Pokemon Snap. But for the sake of time, we're just going to say Pokemon as a franchise. Where does Pokemon go? Is it a standard? Was there a game like it beforehand? I don't actually know if it was based on anything prior. Obviously, it has the card game and everything. It's a little bit tougher. It might also be a standard because of that. I don't know.
It's
It's complicated, I think.
Man, I guess I've got to go first. I wouldn't say as much, just because the idea of an RPG, right? That's what the original game was. It was a game before anything else, right? Before cards, before the show, before the craze. It was a Game Boy game. And it was a simple RPG. It was very fun, and a lot of people latched onto it, but at its core, it's just an RPG. There were RPGs before it.
Did that come before the cards, the game?
I think so. The game...
I don't actually know the answer. I'm not like trying to be contrarian. I just actually don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't actually know either.
I gotta look it up, I guess. Pokemon Timeline of Pokemon. Let's see. February 27th, Pocket Monsters Red and Green, the first ever Pokemon game and the primary games of Generation 1, released in Japan for the game in 1996, February 27th.
The game was really the first of all those trading cards in Japan. Pokemon came out for both at the same time in the US. Okay.
Yeah. Card game came out a few months later. Game Boy game. And in all honesty, it was probably... I played Red. I thought it was very fun. I played the entire game. I played it every week. I think that it can't necessarily be genre defining for an RPG, but it could be genre defining for collectible pocket monster type things. Because there's also Digimon and a bunch of other games that are like, even gotcha games. Aren't they technically kind of like Pokemon?
Not unlike, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, yeah. You go and you need to collect different things and use them in different scenarios, yeah.
Yeah. If we place Pokemon in anything but, you know, a very high tier or in a section of its own, people are going to roast us alive. They're just going to kill us.
Well, I think it's
That's the risk we take.
I think it's complicated because Pokemon as a cultural icon is S tier. It's enormous. They have the show I watched as a kid. I loved it. I liked the games as a kid. I collected the cards. Like, they were everywhere. It was a phenomenon. If we're talking about exclusively the game, I kind of agree with where you started, Market. It's an RPG, right? I'm not an RPG expert by any measure, but I don't think it really does anything to dramatically evolve the RPG sort of game genre over the years of its existence. I don't think when it came out, it was a particularly world-changing RPG. It's like a solid game, and they have added things to it that are various levels of funny and interesting, depending on which feature that you're talking about. But I feel like it's just like a solid RPG. Like, I would say A or B. I would prefer B, but I don't want to get tarred and feathered.
All right.
Like, it's good. They're consistently pretty good too, but they're not interesting enough to pull my attention anymore. Like, after a lifetime of seeing Pokemon, I get it that each new one has new Pokemon and new gimmicks or whatever. It's not enough to make me be like, oh, I gotta play it.
And for listeners out there, we are focusing on the video game aspect. I know we've talked about the fact that there's a card game and all this other stuff, the show.
Yeah.
We are focusing on video games specifically here. So whenever we're talking about, like, Pokemon is a standard of its own for what it is, but I think the video game itself is what we're focusing on.
Yeah, overall, culturally, it's huge. I like it. I'm not obsessed with collecting anything, but it's a huge thing. But the games themselves are like a part of that for me, not really the games don't stand out that strongly on their own.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how do you even talk about like one specific game, because there are so many games. I think you kind of have to put it in its own category, or else, you know, there's really no fairness to it.
I would equate it to if you love Star Wars, there are like thousands of Star Wars books, canon and non-canon. There are a variety of games. I would say the movies are the heart of it, and I don't know if the games are the heart of the Pokemon. I feel like the cards and the lore is the heart of the Pokemon thing that I'm not really an expert on, but I don't know. I would say B.
B, Mark, where you said your own thing, but you don't want to. You want to put it in B.
B. Oh God,
I feel like B is like good, solid, always you know what you're gonna get, consistently good games. A for me is like it's at least one game in the franchise has to be like a standout. Or, like, you point to it as the one where you're like, it's really good.
We have S, A, B, C, D, F. Then we have haven't played and the standard.
I can see the Reddit post now. I can't believe they put Pokemon in B below X, Y, Z.
I think the first couple Pokemon games that came out were S tier and like above and beyond. I think they've done some good things with recent generations, but I do think that they've had it go on for so long and the formula has stayed so relatively the same that it has kind of diluted itself over the years a bit. So I don't know if I would still have it in S for all of the games. But I do think I would have it probably A myself, though my rating doesn't matter here. It's you two.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't really care for Pokemon very much, but even I have to acknowledge that it is kind of like, it set a standard. But I mean, I guess it set a standard that nothing else kind of like entered into, so it kind of just like created its own little corner. I mean, I don't really like the games. I would call it B.
Okay,
What?
Mark and Bob, put it in B. Internet, roast them.
All right. Oh, boy.
Come at me. Guess what? I'm not reading the subreddit for the next 2 months.
All right, done and done. Excellent work, guys. I can't wait to not be involved in that rating.
All this is Wade's fault. Don't worry about it.
Let's go with The Last of Us. Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, which obviously people feel very differently about the two parts.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
But Last of Us, have you played those games, Bob?
I have played the first one. I never actually played the second one. There was so much controversy about it. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Let me try and say this in words because it's hard for me to phrase it somehow for some reason. There's something about the first one is the one I played. So there's something about that first game in that series where like it's no particular thing that stands out as like this is amazing. It changes everything. But everything about it was like polished or thoughtful in a way where I don't generally like action adventure type games like that. And I don't particularly like scary games, which that's not a horror game, but the zombies and there's some sort of jump scares and stuff. I don't play that kind of game because I don't prefer it over other stuff, but I played that whole game. And even when I would finish a play session, like I got to a couple points I remember where it was like fighting clickers in the school or something. It was kind of like stressful. It was like a dark level. I would put it down because I was like, I need a break. I hate that. And then like the next day, my brain would be like, well, you gotta keep playing the game, right? You gotta finish it. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about it that made me really enjoy that game on a lot of levels. It's just really good, but I can't tell you why. I would put it pretty high tier.
For me, writing and voice acting.
Yeah, the voice acting was consistently good. Like the dialogue and everything and the story kept me for sure. But
Remind me what game we're talking about. My brain spaced.
Last of Us.
Last of Us.
the old man and the teenage girl surviving the...
Part 1 and 2. We're talking about both parts.
I have not played part 2. I did play part 1. I played it for a video, which I'm not going to let taint my opinion of it because I played it like I'm trying to get videos done. I think it's very good, but I knock off points every time it's a movie game. Like, it's a great movie game. Don't get me wrong. It's a great movie game, but it's a movie game. It's a very good game. The gameplay was fun.
That's fair.
Still a movie game, and I don't like movie games.
Do you mean that in the context of just like it's a game where it feels like you're watching a movie a lot?
Yeah, it's like 50% or more
Linear, story-driven.
Yeah, extremely linear. The gameplay, while being very engaging, and I saw many gameplay videos of The Last of Us 2, it was really incredible the amount of technology that they packed into the interactivity of what it was when you were playing the game, and I did enjoy it when I was playing it. So I want to rate it very highly, but I always knock off points for movie games because I'm like, oh, wouldn't this be better as a TV show or a movie than a game? But at the same time, it's fun, so I'm like, I would put it today because I think it is a great game, and I think it's a great story, and it's fantastic. I just wouldn't put it an S, just because it wouldn't be a game that I would go back and play over and over and over. And for a game to be an S, it has to not only be like amazing in every way, the story has to be great, the gameplay has to be fun, engaging, really makes you want to play through it. You have to be able to go back and replay it. That is S tier. Right. So I would put Last of Us at A.
Point about it, this movie game, because I generally absolutely loathe that kind of game. Anytime a cutscene kicks in, I'm just like, oh, I used the last Call of Duty campaign. It was like that for me. There were so many cutscenes. I'm not like a huge content, but I wanted to play it. The gameplay was fun, but I hate that. Even The Last of Us, even the cutscenes, I would watch them like it was. I wasn't mad about it, which I would normally be. I would agree with you, A. I feel like that's solid. It's a solid game.
After playing 1 and 2, I would probably also have it today. 2 upset a lot of people that didn't like the story went. Emotional impact, I don't know if there's a game franchise out there that has 50 as tall as The Last of Us. There's been a couple of them that have been up there. It's definitely up there in emotional impact, but I would also, I think Last of Us at A. Let's go into a fan favorite here. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Am I going first on this one?
How about it?
Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, all right.
So this is the entire game. All of the games.
All 80,000 games?
All right. So there's two ways I could look at this, right? I could look at it from the game purely by itself, or I could look at it at the fucking dividends it has paid out for me specifically.
I guess you can.
Because when it comes to all what
It's at the standard for Mark's bank account.
what I just said about all those criteria for a game is like, oh, it's great, engaging storyline, makes you want to keep playing, and the replayability. Whenever I play that game, even if I play it over again on my channel, people still want to play it. It's incredible. I'm not criticizing it in any way for that. I'm saying, like, man, that's the golden goose. That just keeps giving. But at the same time, if I'm being absolutely realistic about it, I think the game is okay. I think it was really interesting when it came out because it did kind of change the paradigm of horror games. And a lot of people could say for better or for worse. But one thing you cannot deny about the first game, even if it did have a lot of cheap jump scares, it nailed atmosphere.
Yeah, it did.
It nailed mystery and a desire to peer into the darkness. And it created this sense of isolation that I think spilled over into a lot of other games, even if they didn't emulate the style of it, in terms of having the protagonist be completely helpless. And I'm not saying it was Amnesia. They were completely helpless. But in a way where you couldn't even move. You were on the defensive. Whereas Amnesia, you're running away. And that's a very big thing. When you're Five Nights at Freddy's, you're defensive. And you do that hiding defenses. Most of your actions are for genre defining, except it kind of is because of the amount of fan games that come out of there. Come back to me.
We lost him.
Come back to me.
All right.
I'll give your opinion.
I mean, I've already said in this episode that I'm not a huge horror game fan. I played the first couple Five Nights games, and like, they're scary. There's a lot of jump scares, and I certainly appreciate that it was like it still is a huge thing for you and stuff because people are crazy for it. I would say I get that people like the game. The lore and everything it draws you in, and everyone just wants to know what the hell's going on and who's who and what are all these. Are there so many haunted thingies and whatever? But that part makes me less. Like I think the game is interesting enough on its own, and I can see the replayability for sure. But everyone's just freaking out about it, and every time, what's his name? Scott Hawthorne would release a teaser. People are like analyzing the pixels, shadows. That's purple guy, and there was a word on your paper. It's referencing the right of 86 or something like all this shit. People lose their mind over it, and I have this complex that we've talked about. I think something is insanely popular. Every person I encounter is like, you gotta watch this CBS series, or you gotta play this game. My mind is like, oh, yeah, cringe, gross. I hate it. So I feel like I would put it at B.
I'm hesitant to put it in a genre-defining thing because it runs the risk of putting everything in a genre-defining thing. So, what did you put in it, Bob?
B, but my opinion carries a little weight compared to yours.
No, I would put it at B as well. Because it is a good game. I think it's a very good game, and it's an iconic game, and it's very fun. Very fun. Oh
I feel
God.
like you don't always have that much fun because you play it on harder and harder, and then when you try to do the 420 or whatever, all that drives you insane.
I guess I was compelled to do it though. Maybe it's because it's hard to give it a fair judgment right now. I would have to go back in time and try to channel who I was back then. Which back then, if I hadn't judged it at the time that I played it, which is the only fair time for me to judge it, I would have given it an A back then. No matter what my feelings after all these other games came out and all the lore got convoluted. The original game, I would put Five Nights at Freddy's 2 at an A. Easy. Sister Location at an A. There's enough games in there when it was at its heyday that I would put it A to give the whole franchise an A. I wouldn't say S. I wouldn't say S out of fairness to all the other games that I want to put in S, but I would put it in A to honor it enough to be like, okay, you can sit at A. I'm proud of you. You did it, champ. You were there for me, and goodness gracious, I'm gonna keep milking you for a while.
As a video game, I don't think it's super spectacular S tier, but I think the way that it's the standard or defining is how it worked for content creation, how it worked for content creators' communities. I think if this game had come out in like 2004, people would have picked it up, played it, been done with it, and it would have kind of like disappeared. But because we lived in the time of social media and like MatPat going through and breaking down every pixel of every game, every word of every book that came out, it became a huge phenomenon because of that. And I think the big draw for viewers was one, the lore, and two, the reactions of content creators. It was a game that was perfect for what we do, more so than for a game that stands alone on its own 2 feet. I think that's where it gets complicated. So I'll mark it at A. I think, Bob, you said you didn't want to put too much weight on yours. Mark's pretty content with A, so I'll put it at A. But I think that it sets a standard in ways that go beyond just the video game itself. But as a video game, I think A, B is probably accurate.
No, I think it's fair.
And you're the king of it, so you get to say.
That's me. I'm the king. It's A.
God, we have so many games to get through. I'm sorry.
It'll be a 9-hour long episode, everybody.
Let's do the Mass Effect franchise. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, Andromeda, Andromeda, whatever you've played, haven't played. Mass Effect, when it came out, Mass Effect was
Yes.
Yeah.
everything to me. I feel like it was huge.
Not Andromeda.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. You know what I'd like to do is just ignore everything that came after the original trilogy, because there's been Andromeda.
Even the original trilogy, when Mass Effect 3 came out, there was so much uproar before they
remember.
patched it.
Oh, 70.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
let's count 1, 2, and 75% of Mass Effect 3 plus the Citadel DLC. S tier.
Yeah.
People forget the beginning of Mass Effect 3 was great. It was fantastic. It was amazing.
It was really
Yes, it was.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it was 99% of 3. It was the fact that the ending
Let's not
didn't
talk
acknowledge
about
your...
it. Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
I don't think it needs to be discussed. And Andromeda is like hilarious, and even though it was kind of awful in its own special ways, it was also redeemable in some ways.
Yeah, I had fun with Andromeda.
It wasn't just unbearably awful. It had things. It had some of the Mass Effect things, but I would say yeah.
S tier, not standard defining.
Great franchise. I don't even like that kind of franchise. Like great franchise. Super fun.
Mass Effect was like such an inspiration for me. I played 1 so many times. I played 2 every single possible group of content that was set. I played it over endlessly.
You like it? I didn't know it was such a thing.
I played every single round. Paragon, Iron Renegade, everything. Mass Effect 3 I only played a couple times when I first had it. But the Citadel DLC was amazing and I did enjoy it very much. It was incredible. That's
But not standard defining for being
no, I'm not getting into the standards. As there's been RPGs.
I mean, it's an RPG, right? I
Yeah.
would not say you have to compare it to RPGs, and I can't say that that's this genre defining. I
Yeah.
think that one feature was cool for sure.
Yeah.
We should do a follow-up episode where we just come up with what the standards are for different genres. That'd be fun.
Let's retcon our standards.
So far, we've only got one standard, and it's Gary's mod. We actually haven't gone over what the standards would be.
It's just like outliers rather than standards we're kind of putting it as. So maybe we don't have standards because it's
Yeah,
unfair.
whatever.
I don't know. We'll figure it out case by case.
It's all made up. They know this.
All right. So, Mass Effect, our first S tier.
Solid.
Let's do Zelda, the Zelda franchise.
The franchise or a specific game? It's hard one to say franchise. That's what's really hard about
It's up to you guys how you want to define it. We just don't have time to do every game of Zelda, so I'm just saying the franchise. But you can say Zelda and focus on the game that you want to rate. You don't have to go through all of them.
it. You know how Death Battle does it where they pick their character at its strongest, right? At its lore-based strongest. So you just pick out like the best game and judge it by that.
That's fine. We kind of did that with Mass Effect, so sure, go for it.
And then maybe count some of the worst games. I don't know, but I haven't played all the games.
Those could be counter arguments.
Yeah.
So we're just doing Zelda, and you guys can focus on whatever part of it you want to. But Zelda, this is the only rating we're going to give to it, unless people are like, no, you have to break down Link's Awakening versus, whatever.
I haven't played that many Zelda games.
Actually, the Zelda game that I have played the most is the newest one. What's that called on the Switch?
Breath of the Wild.
That's the one. God,
You played it
jeez.
so much, can't even remember the name.
Listen, that's the only Zelda game that I think I've actually finished more than once, and I thought it was super fun. I think it's a very fun game. I got to the point playing that with Mandy where we had maps up, we had a strategy guide, and we were just trying to hunt down every last shrine,
Yeah.
just looking, just to see the different parts of the world and stuff. And people have complained, and it's not an unfair complaint, that there are huge parts of that world that feel like vast empty filler with nothing.
A lot of open world games have that problem.
And but that's kind of how the world is, especially if you're talking about some sort of very long time ago world where the quickest travel is horses and whatever. I think it's a solid game, and I think as a franchise too, Zelda has some real misses and some really funny games. I really enjoy Zelda 2. Watching it, playing it makes me want to die inside, but I think it's a good franchise. I would say A or S franchise, because the variety of experiences you can get in playing all the different games, the ways they've tried to innovate that worked or didn't work. I think overall it's a great franchise, and there are some big misses and bad games, but overall AS area for me.
All right.
I would kind of agree.
Today might
It's
be a lucky
hard
day.
because judging as a
When I give a
franchise, I
Yuka
think
K to go.
franchise is definitely A. I played the crap out of Ocarina of Time. I know that's a very milk toast opinion to say this is a great game, but I mean, as a kid, I played the shit out of it. I played it over and over and over again. I played it non-stop. I had the strategy
How
guide
can
and
I
everything.
make your
Loved
day?
that game.
Oh,
But I
so
didn't play
into-
Breath of the
we'll see
Wild
what
is the
we end
thing.
up.
So I'm going to defer to Bob on this one because I don't think I have enough of a basis to even create an opinion. If I did make a big
But I feel
declarative
like it's
opinion,
gonna
I
put me
think people
down,
would roast
but-
me
oh,
alive just
yeah,
because I'm not informed enough. If I was just on Ocarina of Time, that game was amazing. I would put that game as an S tier because of just how much I replayed it. But I can't judge the franchise in that same way.
I guess I want to qualify my opinion too. Is I'm not a huge fan of playing the Zelda games. I find them very frustrating. I don't know if we've talked about this. I'm a first-person shooter guy. My favorite game of all time is probably the original Halo Combat Evolved on Xbox. So all of these games we've talked about, or most of them, don't really fall into what I like. Zelda is one of the ones where I haven't played a lot of the games, but I've probably watched almost every Zelda game. I've watched a playthrough or I've watched speedrunning of it because speedrunning in Zelda games is fascinating, especially the N64 games, Ocarina and Majora's Mask. There are some insane bugs and skips and things, but like even despite the fact that I wouldn't enjoy sitting down and playing A Link to the Past, I think it's a great game and I respect why people who love the game and have played it through 100 times have and why they love it. I think that's legit.
Okay, so S or A tier?
So that's where my opinion is coming from. I would say if Mark is deferring.
S tier is Zelda.
I am deferring.
I've actually never finished playing through a Zelda game. I've watched like you, Bob. It's not for me, but it's had such an impact, and the people that love it are so endeared to it. And I do think like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask made such a huge impact. Breath of the Wild, that like, yeah, I think S tier is fair.
Wind Waker.
Yeah, Wind Waker.
It's unarguable that the quality of the games are incredible.
Yeah.
Cannot be argued.
All right, Zelda's our second S tier.
Take that, Pokemon fans.
Yeah, suck it, Pokemon.
This episode is brought to you by Vonage. Is your business ready to integrate live video chats
didn't
into
deserve
your
that
app?
sort of fate.
The Vonage Video
No one
API
does.
makes it simple for developers to build custom solutions that make sense for
thanks
your
to those
business.
damn
From providing
hormones.
faster tech support and better customer service to hosting more productive meetings and classes, live video enhances every conversation. Go live on your terms with Vonage. Learn more at Vonage.com.
What's that, John?
This
I hope we
episode
can
is
set
brought
up
to you
more
by
settlements like
Booking.com.
Foundation.
Sure, a podcast
I've
is
got
a
friends
kind of
up there that didn't
escapism,
wanna come
but
with
it's
me.
not quite escape-ing. You need a
Somebody looks
vacation to
forward to
somewhere,
today.
anywhere.
Actually,
On
I'm
Booking.com,
just
you can choose from thousands of unique stays
ramen
across
and
the
rad
U.S.,
stags
from
and
hotels
stuff.
to beach
I would think
houses,
so.
wooden cabins, and tiny homes.
bet so.
Whatever type of trip you want to take, laying on the beach, camping in nature, a city trip, or even going skiing. Click or tap now to find the perfect place to stay on your next trip. Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
Next week it'll be my turn
Let's
on
go
guard
with the
duty.
Call of Duty
I hate
franchise.
those
Any
late
Call of
nights
Duty
walking
you
the
want
walls.
or not want. This can include the zombie mode, multiplayer, the story, whatever aspect you want to talk about, all of it, none of it. Call of Duty.
You want to go first, Mark? I feel like I keep taking it.
Call of Duty. I am not a Call of Duty guy. I have played Call of Duty. Bob, we've played Call of Duty together a few times.
That's
not as
true.
much as you've played Call of Duty on your own.
We've done the zombie mode together, the three of us.
We've done zombie mode. Yeah, we've done that before. It's fun. B.
Okay.
Because for me, it's just like I know people are already like getting it's just like it's a shooter. It's an okay shooter. I've played a lot of shooters in my day. A lot of shooters that had a lot more of an impact on me as a person. Call of Duty is way down there. It's way down there on my list. I would not even put it in the top 10 of my favorites. Maybe not even the top 20. But I would have to like really think about that. It is B. It's good. It's a milked through franchise. It has been milked. It has been squozed. It is a dry husk of what it formerly was. The only Call of Duty game that I played that I really loved, I think, was Call of Duty 4. Was the World War back when it was all World War II shooters.
That was when we lived together, Mark.
Yeah, was that it? Was that the World War II one?
COD 4 was the first modern one. COD 4 was Modern Warfare. I played about 1,000 hours of that in our dorm room with you sleeping next to me.
COD 3 or 2 then. That's the one that I played on. And that was pretty okay. It was just like a mediocre World War II shooter. But the rest of the games I never got into. I never got super inspired by. Then again, I have a bias against competitive multiplayer games. So I say B, but I am biased.
Okay.
I enjoy Call of Duty. I think you're pretty dead on, Mark, that it's very played out. And they definitely reached a point in like the 2010s where every new game would come out and like there was one where you could wall run and like practically fly and all this
Yeah, that one got
like
me.
future warrior bullshit. And there have definitely been games that came out where I didn't even want to play it. And I looked at it, and then maybe I went and played it later, but like it looked laughable. But Overall, for me, I love Call of Duty. I love it. COD 4 was probably the first game that I put thousands of hours into competitive. I think the first game I put a lot of time into was like the original Halo trilogy. I played the absolute shit out of those, and I would have LAN parties with buddies and play that, do custom modes and stuff. But I also just played those games a lot because I love those games. COD 4 and Modern Warfare 2, I put so much time into. And those were some of the first games that got me into competitive FPS games, and that's still probably like my top genre. My current favorite games are like Valorant. I have easily over 1,000 to 2,000 hours in like Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I love it, but I completely appreciate that that's not for everybody. And I also have to acknowledge that the franchise has been really up and really down. I do also think that a lot of the campaigns in the Call of Duty franchises have been really fun. Not like super story rich, but iconic characters and then iconic characters returning and like just really fun firefights and fun moments over the course of a wild action story. I would put it at like a solid A because I personally just enjoy it so much, and it has been, the franchise has been a big part of my life since like, I played the first one on PC too. I think I've played every COD game that's come out, even though I've really, really hated some of them. I would say
Attention,
I
this
get
is
why
Raleigh
B.
Clay
Say B.
on a
Say B.
priority
So
message
we would have B and an A. I screwed around on Call of Duty a little bit before. Was it Black Ops that came out that was the first one that had the zombie mode?
Anyone listening will take down that hard control
That had super fun and the zombie mode, and then like I started playing the multiplayer mode after that. We would get little phone houses and play multiplayer. My friend Jesse and I would come out and just play with a little headset and put on, go hop in and play multiplayer. Got super into it. I definitely put a lot of Call of Duty. I remember getting excited when it releases, and Modern Warfare 2 came out in Q. Warzone came out. I think about the Warzone 2 coming right now or something. They're gonna find this stuff. I don't know how to do this. That's tough. But some of them have had really, really good, innovative, fun things with zombie modes, so on and so forth. But so many of them are just basically a reskin with some new maps, but I didn't like most of the old maps. So it's tough. I think A or B is fair. I don't think it's a huge difference.
Break the tie.
I'll give it an A. I'll give it an A overall because I think it's survived this long, stayed as popular as it has, and I think it's done enough interesting things over the years. The zombie mode alone, to me, bumps it up a little bit. I will put Call of Duty at an A. B, I think, is also fair. Let's move on. We've only ranked like 6 games. Did you say A?
I said A, but I appreciate why.
I'm gonna group these two together with different games. Differentiated with like Rock Band and Guitar. I actually got into these games because of Mark indirectly.
Easy also. Oh, don't worry.
When I was with my ex in college, I think he had left for Guitar Hero thing in like her apartment, and I came over and he just started playing it. And I just like super got into it, and I got my own version of it. So he was like lending it to my ex, and I played it for the first time. I really loved it. Guitar Hero, I love both of them. I think they're both really fun. They were very different. Putting the list like his favorite songs. I feel like he was playing it was really awesome. So that's my concern for you guys.
Genre defining. It is its own genre. If there was ever something defining, this is it.
Yeah, I would say specifically, I guess you have to say Rock Band because I think that one came first.
Yeah.
Or no, another one, Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero came first. That's what I meant. Because Mark, we had Guitar Hero 3 on Wii in our dorm room. Do you remember how much Joey would come over from next door?
while you're focused on the guitar. I mean, you know, whatever.
There are other really good videos. You want to play Legion? I love that one when I was in college.
No, but in reading it's all right.
Yeah, this is tough. I know people hold this franchise in their heart. I played the first one when it came out. I had a buddy who was really hype on Assassin's Creed, and we went in his basement and popped the disc into the Xbox and like started playing. I always found it frustrating. It was always billed as like this fluid, climbing on buildings, and jumping and doing attack, and it was never fluid enough. I was always frustrated where you like, okay, climb, awkwardly climb, find the spot. I'm in the right spot, and the guy you're trying to kill walks right beneath you, and you're all, attack! Attack! He's right there! Attack! And then your guy just jumps down onto the ground, and everyone is like, oh! And is all scared.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, he was right there! Damn it!
Yeah.
That's my main memory of those games, is they never quite delivered on that experience.
I'd put it as C.
C, okay.
I agree.
I'd give it C. Yeah, it's a very.
I like
average
the like lore in the world and the memory shenanigans where you're diving into your own DNA and whatever. That was cool, but the gameplay was let down.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I think like some of the Ezio games, which I think was Assassin's Creed like 2 and 3, were really top tier. There were moments where like the controls could feel a little frustrating, and they did get a bit repetitive over time. And I don't think I finished. I was playing through Odyssey, I never finished it. I was playing through Valhalla, never finished it. It just became the same, like go do some collectibles, do some side missions. Like, you know, a lot of those games where it's like you're so busy trying to 100% it that you get bored and don't finish the story that you were actually interested in.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair. You touched on this game earlier, Bob. Let's talk about the Halo series. That's another one that people bought the Xbox exclusively for Halo back in the day. Like that was the reason to go with Xbox over PlayStation during the console wars. Was Halo.
Do you want to go first, Mark?
Oh no, you can go first. Oh, unless did you go first last time?
We kind of both did it at the same time because we both didn't care for it.
Mine's very 1, 2, 3, specifically 3 and Reach are the ones that I played the most of. I think it's a fantastic game. The quality is outstanding. The mood, I base games on mood a lot. The feel of it is incredible. However, I never replayed them, so I can't put it S. I put it at A. That's what I'd say. I think they're incredible. They've fallen off a lot. They've fallen off a lot.
At least the show was good.
Oh yeah, I love that. Wait.
I love Johnny Reach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where do you have Halo, Bob?
This one's tough for me because I want to say, just because of my personal connection to it, that it's genre defining, but I don't really think that's accurate. I do want to say that in terms of twin stick console shooters, and I'm not, as far as I know, Halo was a giant leap forward. I went from N64 to Xbox. My friends had like GameCubes, and I played other games in the intermediate. Like I played like Time Splitters and stuff. But for me, Halo was the first console twin stick shooter that felt like it was in the next generation of shooters. I don't know if it was the multiplayer, because the multiplayer with the custom modes that you could do and the maps they had were very iconic for me. But the feel of Halo, the first time I played it, I remember being completely struck in awe at what it was, how interactive some of like the characters were, and how responsive the controls felt compared to a lot of other console FPS games that I had played. I don't accurately remember the time, but I feel like it was the start, for me at least, of like the new generation of shooters and what they could be. And it inspired a lot of replays for me, and a lot of LAN parties, and staying up all night to do, you know, rocket surfing with my buddies and practice that and see how it worked, and do, you know, playing SWAT before it was an official game mode, all this stuff. It defined a large part of my childhood, but I feel like it also represented a big jump forward in games. but that may not be accurate. So I would give it an S or an A, but I prefer S.
Okay, so we're split right now, S and A. I thought the games were solid. I understand the impact that they had and how people like exclusively would go to Xbox for those games, which was amazing to see. But I was more of a PlayStation guy, so I didn't play a whole lot of the Halo games. I played through the campaign with my brother, but that was pretty much it. For me, the game was an A, but it's hard for me to say that it doesn't deserve an S. Just personally, I wouldn't put it there. Are you comfortable with me putting it in an A, or do you want to fight for S, Bob?
No, I feel like it wasn't as big for people who didn't get into Halo. It wasn't something where even if you'd never heard of it, you kind of had heard of it or played it. But the Halo community, at least during the first trilogy, was huge. And especially when online play started, like, I think people who liked it really liked it and got into it.
This is gonna have to be like a 5-part series because we've got through like 10 games in an hour. This is like amazing how much we have to say.
Do you want to try to speed round it?
We could try. It's gonna be tough.
We could try.
Like the controversial ones.
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft. God, do you judge it by how many lives it's destroyed, or do you judge it by how much
That's up to
life
you.
of mine it destroyed?
Is it the standard of MMOs?
Russell
In the
Dorsey.
early
Brotherhood
years, I feel like it did set the standard for MMOs for a long time,
looking to
and a
sign
lot of
up?
people
Or
emulate it
just
even
most
now.
of the
But I don't know if
forks
it does
He's
anymore.
very serious.
I cherish the time that I played with it, but if I had to judge it on how
Any
it is
news to
now,
share?
it is a shadow of its former self. And the thing about MMOs is that they're a continuous game. They don't exist at one point in time. For my memories of it, I would have, if you asked me in 2011, I would have said S tier. If you ask me now, based on the game how it is, F. So I'll put it right in the middle as C.
C.
That thing has destroyed lives. That thing has destroyed lives. Bob, you and I personally know someone whose life it has destroyed. We've never heard from him again.
So you two are blaming the game for you destroying their life. I see.
Both.
Yeah, sure. C. I agree. C. I have to agree.
Wow.
C.
Okay. WoW is a C. I thought you guys put that in the standard. I'm shocked. That's fine. I haven't played a lot of it, so I'm going to defer to you two.
EverQuest came before it. It's not its own genre.
Yeah.
Diablo franchise. Diablo 1, 2, and 3. We don't have to talk about Immortal. We can leave that out of it.
He said, choking back tears.
I don't want to talk about
Your
Immortal.
objections are noted.
I played a little of Immortal. It was okay.
The problem with Immortal is the longer you play, the more you find that you can't compete with those that, like, there was someone that spent so much money that they were in their own PvP bracket and nobody else could compete with them, so it wouldn't even place them in matches because they spent money and the other people didn't have the same gear.
The man who got the penis enhancement surgery too much. Now no one can love him.
Basically.
His dick too big.
I don't know. Diablo doesn't mean that much to me, so.
Diablo for me was my childhood. I played Diablo 2 all through high school, college, even past until Diablo 3 came out. And even after 3 came out, there were parts of 2 that I still longed for. It was a huge part of my life.
Judging based on how many hours I put in, I'd put
Initia
it
Dorsey
at
is supposed to be manning his
Nah.
post at the entrance.
No.
Not
A.
my second.
A?
You're supposed to change it when you hesitate?
I don't want. I couldn't in good faith put it in S, but for me, A.
A. No, actually, A.
It just
Perhaps
doesn't
you see
mean as
something in
much,
you
but I
work
play the
hard,
shit out of
Are
it.
you
A.
another
Maybe
aspirant to our order?
I can agree with that. I think they're the first 3, if we ignore Immortals and the issues it has, I think it's a solid game. Like,
Yeah.
I have fun when I play it. It just doesn't draw me in, which is
If
more a
you
statement
mean
about
that.
me.
I'm comfortable putting it in A.
Alright.
It's had its fair share of
But if
issues
that's
over the years.
sarcasm, I
and
recommend you
I think A
stoic.
is solid, and we'll see what 4 brings us. Hopefully, it's good. Okay,
Normally,
let's
I stick
do
you with the
PUBG
other
and
hopefuls
Fortnite. We
until
can
we
do them
decide
together
whether you're
separately.
Why together?
You're serious about
Well,
joining us.
they're unfortunately they are intertwined. They are
There's something
intertwined.
you could do for me that would
PUBG came
help
out
you order,
first
and
using some of the whatever the engine was, and then Fortnite came out a little bit after.
We've
Fortnite
had
is
a
obviously
number
the
of
standard we think
civilians
about
show up
now,
here
but at
at
the
Fort
time,
Apples,
at
asking
one point at
for
least,
one thing
PUBG
or
was
another from the
the
Brotherhood.
battle
People are
royale
afraid
before battle
or want
royales
something
took over.
I don't really like battle royales, so I'd put it at
Civilian
PUBG
outreach
at
is
like a
not
D.
my
It's not
specialty.
completely
There's too
unfair.
much left
When
to
I
do to
first
secure
came
the
out,
facility.
I was so
If they're
into
really
it.
interested in
It
helping,
was
save my
probably
time.
A tier for me.
Interview
That
the
game just
petitioners,
ripped off a
find out what they
DayZ,
want,
though.
and
Yeah.
report back
Well,
to
yeah, I
me.
guess DayZ too. Yeah, that's another one I could have put on the list. What do you think, Bob?
I love past tense PUBG.
right.
In the couple years,
regret
in the
giving you the
heyday of
opportunity.
PUBG,
Conduct
like
yourself
the
properly.
era right after it
We
came
can
out,
consider putting
up
you
until
forward as an
1.0
initiative
release
candidate.
almost, but a little before that even, that was the only game I played a lot of the time. Every day, it would hit the time of day, and I would text the squad, and we would hop in PUBG, and that was the activity. Personally, I would put Fortnite at F,
Okay.
Can't even come
And
to me
it's a
himself.
total vendetta.
What,
I
he needs the
hate the
requisitions
building in
from armor
Fortnite.
polish?
I think it's
All right.
stupid. I think
They
it's
removed it. You
insane.
can play without it now.
I know, and I like that mode way better. I think it's
So,
insane that a person can build a castle in front of you in 10
What's he
seconds,
gotta say
and if
to
you're
me?
not capable of building a 5-story tall tower in 2 flicks of your wrist, then you
The
don't stand a
problem
shot against
is that a
any,
couple of
any
these
player that can do that.
Brotherhood
I have
clowns
nothing else
showed up and took
against
a bunch of
Fortnite.
my
It's a very
stuff
cool
at
game. The
gunpoint.
aesthetic is good,
Now
and
I'm
PUBG has so many more real issues and
Really
bugs that are still in the game even
Sure
now.
wasn't equipped to
But I
deal
love
with
PUBG
armed
so
thugs
much. I would put
requisitioning
PUBG
the
at like
little I've
a
managed to put
A,
together
but
for
it's
myself.
also not unfair
Never
to put it at a
understood the
D
way-
because it has the same bugs
quiet.
that it's had since it
I
came
don't
out.
need much.
Like,
I need trouble
okay.
less.
it's such an awful
But after
game, and they
this-
haven't been able to fix some of the stuff for years.
Yeah,
but I
game-
love it.
I
That
came
game
here
functioned
to give
like
the
ass.
Brotherhood a chance
Literally,
to make things
nothing
right.
for me worked.
That was
Laggy,
amazing.
insane,
Ever.
and
I'd
then
go to
you know
Kratos
shots
and
never
start doing
went where
things
you
their
thought they
way.
were, and I just
At least
don't
they don't
like that.
pretend to be
The only
the
thing I
good
liked about
guys.
it was the zombie mode, and even that was hard to get working and lagged like crazy.
Yeah.
They never could get that to work.
Where would you put PUBG?
Me, D.
Okay, so Bob's A or B.
Alright.
Compromise on a C.
So C.
The
We think
problem?
PUBG's a C. What about
Now,
Fortnite for
peace,
you, Mark?
man.
Fortnite.
Never-
Again.
Where Toby was born.
Toby.
We.
Oh right. Again, I don't like battle royales. I like the single player game better than the multiplayer game. D as well, and I don't care who hates me for it.
That should be an F.
We can put it in F. Let's put it in F for Fortnite.
Fortnite's our first and only F. We have no D's, but Fortnite's an F.
Take that, kids.
Take that, kids.
You know, the thing I don't like about Fortnite was they had an interesting game that really wasn't doing that well, and then PUBG started doing well, and then all of a sudden they made this new game mode that just like
Oh,
they
yeah.
put everything into.
Fortnite Save the World was really cool, and I played that before the Battle Royale even existed, and I was like, oh, this has promise. This is
me too.
interesting. And
Me
then they
too.
were like, screw that game. Let's make a Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they never did anything.
So that rubbed me the wrong way too, but I mean, obviously people are gonna have Fortnite at S tier and not way higher. I think for us, you know, this is again
Yeah,
personal
you.
rankings. We're not ranking for what we think the
Who I
world
need to
is.
talk
This
to
is just
around
for us. Fortnite at D or F, PUBG at C is fine for me. I'm
don't
fine
look
with
like
that.
one of these
Grand
Brotherhood
Theft Auto
yahoos.
franchise.
Shin?
3 and 4 were so big when they
I
came out.
mean,
Vice City and
if you looked at the recent
Yeah,
GTA
that's right.
6 game,
Now, all the
7,
talk in the
6
areas about these
gameplay,
Brotherhood folks with the high-tech toys.
fucking trash.
self-defense.
They've fallen off.
I haven't seen anything about the leaks.
Fucking garbage. This game is F.
Is so Grand Theft Auto 5, is that what they there's so many games.
Yes.
Grand Theft Auto 5 was the
Something
one where you have 3
I am
playable
waiting to speak
characters,
with
and
the
that's the one that has
Brotherhood
had all of the
Online spawned off of GTA 5.
the RPG
severe
stuff
gentleman in
come
the
off.
power.
Yeah.
Yes.
Role play.
I
Dr.
think
Edgar
that
Blackburn
Grand
at
Theft
your
Auto
service.
is a little overrated, but I
I had
also
heard that the
think I
Brotherhood
appreciate those
possessed
games in a
advanced
different way
technology.
than a lot of people do.
As a doctor,
I think it's good.
my research
as
has
a
always
franchise,
included equipment
but the
and
first
materials
couple
rather
games,
difficult
like, have you seen the first one? The like top down.
I came to see if an
The
arrangement
camera.
could be made.
It looks like it's unrelated to the rest of the franchise.
It
to
sure
me.
does. 3 was
Yeah,
really
it's
where
still
it was
in
almost
true
the
disarray.
standard because 3 came
Even
out
the state
and you
of my
could
fellow
get in
supplicants,
cars, you could
I
drive
dare emphasize
around,
that
you could
their
like do all these
needs
different
likely
things.
outweigh
Like
my
it was just so crazy the things you could do in 3 compared to other games that were coming out around that time.
Yeah.
And then Vice City introduced like what helicopters and boats and motorcycles and things. It was like, oh my god, all the things you could do.
I don't know what the genre is, but I guess is GTA genre defining? Is it genre creating?
I think
Like an
3 was a
open
standard.
world.
Overall, I'm not sure if it is, but I think 3 was it changed things when 3 came out.
Yes, I guess. Having that giant world in that platform, the PlayStation 2, was kind of incredible at the time. Looking back now, it looks like a bag of ass, but that's how most games do looking back then. I don't have any strong opinions about GTA. I don't think I've ever finished a campaign of any game.
Oh, okay.
I finished all the campaigns on 3, 4, and 5, but
I did not finish 4. I finished 3, Vice City, and 5. Where would you put it, Bob?
I don't know if genre defining. I find it overrated. Everyone gets really hyped about it, and the RP stuff, the roleplay stuff, people seem to really enjoy. It's just not that exciting to me, but I can't argue that it's like a bad franchise if you include how successful it's been.
Yeah.
It's the second best-selling game of all time, GTA 5, I think. Like, it's got to be A at least for me, I guess.
My hardcore memories of the game, the ones that stand out the most, are me as a teenager picking up hookers on the street and then going into a dark
Watching
alley.
your car shake and your money go down.
And then I'm just like,
yeah.
hopefully good. Oh, wow.
got some extras.
Just the car.
At least virtual me got laid.
In return,
Oh, wow! Oh, gosh!
So, A.
I have that exact same memory. That's so weird.
Weird.
GTA is an A because we're just gonna try to cram in. Let's speed round like 1 or 2 more games here. What's another really big one? The Doom franchise. Let's do that one for Mark. Doom games.
Oh man, I think S.
Fair enough.
Doom could not be anything higher than S. I think to say it's not an S would be a disservice to just how much of an impact it did on the world and just how good the first game and Eternal was. Just how transformative it was in terms of like a run
The
and gun
standard
shooter.
though of shooters. It wasn't the standard back then even when it first
There's
came
too
out.
many shooters. I don't think you could say anything is
Yeah.
I would fight that with Half-Life.
I feel like it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would fight it a lot, but I would say S easily.
Only reason you
Easily.
should be back
Playing
here is if you're
Doom
ready to
Eternal
kick
gave me a
finish
headache.
the
It's
test.
not my kind of game, but the soundtrack for that slaps.
It does.
I
The
have a list
music
on their
and the like world
Give me
building
the hot-
around Doom in general, even though I haven't played almost any of the games,
Brotherhood is
I'm
not a
aware of
charity,
it because it's
and our
fantastic.
mission does not
And the
cover
original Doom
providing
game had a
civilians
bunch
with-
of
unless the
contemporaries,
doctor
but I
intends
would
to
say it
provide
was
that research to the
almost
Brotherhood
genre
exclusively.
defining because it
Under our
did
supervision,
represent
you will
a
get
huge
nothing.
leap forward at the time it came out in like what shooter games looked like and could be. I think it has to be S.
It was that and Wolfenstein that I remember hearing about as a kid
Yeah.
growing up. It was Wolfenstein and it was Doom. Those were the two you talked about when it came to shooters.
Yeah, because those were the shooters. There was nothing else. Well, okay, it's not that there wasn't anything else, but it'd take too long to get into the other ones.
Yeah. So standard for you, Bob, and S tier for you, Mark?
Yeah.
S tier, S tier.
S tier? Okay, we'll put that in S tier. Let's go. Shit, I had one I wanted to do. Where is it?
It'll have to be the last one, I think. Better be a good one.
What's okay? If we're gonna take a pause here, let's find a real good last one to end on.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys have a game that you want to rate that you think is one that we should end on, a big one. There's like the Fallout series, the Elder Scrolls series. Those are big. Dark Souls.
I think everyone remembers how I feel about the Souls games.
Do you want to do the Souls games? Because I would just judge it on Elden Ring or Bloodborne. Fuck.
Well, hell, we're talking about let's do Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne. Let's just group all those together, which I know people might hate, but let's rate those.
Bobby, you want to go first?
I don't like them.
Ooh, this is gonna be spicy.
Take that,
shows
Souls
commendable.
games
That appears to
fans.
resolve the
All right,
matter
F
unarmed.
tier for Bob.
No, I mean that's harsh. The main reason I don't like them is that they're a type of game that I find very frustrating and not in a way that's fun. And I get that people like that, and I think it's just really annoying. But you know what I do like is that the new ultimate playthrough, all the Souls games, including also Bloodborne, and then the other one I forget, and then also through Elden Ring, has been done.
Wow.
And I appreciate that because what an actual feat of pure masochism and insanity, but it's damn impressive.
Yeah, no hits, right? No hits?
Yes.
Ungodly, unfathomable. Here's like my take on it, because I get where Bob's coming from. Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, all of those 4 games I couldn't get into because I found the movement too clunky to be able to really enjoy it. Then Bloodborne came along and it changed my entire opinion of those types of games. I loved Bloodborne. It was a more fast-paced, more you get hit, you try to hit back to reclaim health. It was more engaging. You felt like you had more agency on your movement and your attacks, and you were controlling the pace of the battle with what you were doing. Therefore, it became, instead of frustrating, it became very fun. I loved Bloodborne. That is an S game by itself. Then Sekiro, I didn't get into too much. I know people love it. It's kind of fast too. Like that's even faster than Bloodborne, but I didn't really like it as much. Then Elden Ring came along. And I had never fallen in love with a game so back and forth. At first, I was like, this is like Dark Souls. I can't really get into it. Then I just experimented with different play styles, different weapon styles, and I realized that it did have even a little bit more in some spaces, mobility and maneuverability than Bloodborne did, and it was kind of fast-paced if you let it be fast-paced. It was like pick your own style of game in that it was so fun. It was just there was something just so satisfying about even beating a normal enemy that kept you going once you found your rhythm and you kept moving forward. And yes, ungodly frustrating. That is not for everybody. I have to put the entire Souls series at an S tier. It's transformative. It is genre defining. It is incredible. It is replayable. I played Bloodborne and Elden Ring so many times, and it just had such an impact on the world in terms of opening people's eyes and game developers being like, wait, maybe we haven't been doing games right for a while if this one is so loved, you know, I just love it. I love it so much, and I love what it's done.
Okay, S tier. Bob, where'd you put it?
I'll agree with Mark. I feel like I have a weak opinion on this one, but I appreciate the God runs because I think they're fantastic. So I agree.
Souls series S tier. Okay.
Yeah, Bob, I would try. Have you tried Bloodborne?
I actually have never tried to play Bloodborne. I've tried to play Souls 3, and then I played Elden Ring a bit, and those are the only games I've really played.
I can totally see why your frustration would come about. Those are actually very hard ones to jump into. Bloodborne is also very difficult, and it'll be brutal in the beginning, but once it has more in its systems that keep the fight engaged. It'll still frustrate you with things jumping out around the corners and the fucking dogs. The dogs in all those games are
I've seen
awful.
the dogs. They look awful.
But Bloodborne is actually an incredibly fun game. When you beat the first boss, when you get to that point, if you can beat the first boss, I'm almost certain you will actually feel that sense of, I fucking did it, yes!
It does give quite the feeling of accomplishment when you succeed, but man, I've played 3, I've played some of 2, I played through Bloodborne mostly, and I think a decent amount of Elden Ring, and I have a love-hate relationship where, yeah, once you get that accomplished feeling of beating something you've struggled with, it feels great, and then you go and die to something really stupid, you lose your souls, and you die getting back, and you just want to beat your head against the wall because you forgot to spend them, and the frustration and the pain and misery that I feel. I have a very big love and hate relationship with it, but I can't argue that they belong probably in A or S tier. Yeah.
I also feel like I have to add a correction because someone's going to point it out. God Run 3 has not actually happened. People are working on it. The new God Run 3, including Elden Ring now, will happen.
Okay,
I will watch some of it, but not all of it because
Yeah.
it's going to take like multiple days.
You know, that's one of the worst things about those games is like spending what feels like hours trying to master a boss and then beating it, and then you go and you watch someone beat it in like 2 minutes without taking a single hit whenever you barely scrape by with like all the in-game gear and they've got like nothing besides a wooden sword.
Yeah, you watch a naked guy in underwear with a stick just like beat it by never getting hit over a 30-minute fight and slowly chipping it to death.
Or they go and they speed run to like this one sword and they just happen to have just enough stats to put it on, and they go and they just like swipe 3 times and it dies. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We covered all video games.
All video games.
Woo! We did it! We did it, boys!
In all that time, we only talked about 18 games.
That's still a lot of games.
It is a lot. I've got a list of like 40 more we haven't touched, and I'm sure there's tons out there everyone else wants to see. So if you guys do want to see a follow-up to the tier list, let us know. We don't want to do every podcast episode just talking about this, but if enough of you want to see it, we'll do a follow-up, because there's so many more games we want to rate. It's just hard to get to them all in this amount of time and talk about them.
Wade's gotta win another time eventually.
Yeah, root for me if you want to see another tier list. If we do another tier list next time, we'll continue games. I know there was more food restaurants we didn't do too, as opposed to other kinds of restaurants.
As opposed to drink restaurants or sleep restaurants, as we all know and
All
love.
right, look, I'm gonna wrap up here. Man, I've got to declare a winner. I kind of forgot about that part. Points.
Yeah.
I'm looking at where things are rated and how I agree or disagree, the points you all made about it.
I feel pretty good about this one, Bob. I don't know. I think you should sit back down.
I actually don't feel great about what I contributed. I feel like I was a big negative Nancy this time around. And while I love having spicy takes, I also feel bad about it.
Interesting.
But take that, Pokemon fans.
Yeah, suck it, Pokemon.
You know, for having the balls to immediately just say Fortnite's an F, I'll give the win to Bob.
Ooh.
I feel like you're gonna get so much hate from that one take.
I don't know if you will.
That I'm gonna give you the win just so you can have a little something to feel good about while you're being blasted for the rest of your life.
That would give him more hate, though.
Take that, Fortnite kiddos.
Yeah.
I won because you like a dumb game.
I don't know how many Fortnite fans we have that listen to us, but that one take, I was surprised that you just went right for it. I was gonna knock you some points for, you know, not being super into Diablo, but you know, I can't really blame you for it. Mark and I love Diablo. You didn't really give them as much love as it deserved.
Yeah, I have no hate for Diablo. It's a good game. It's a good franchise. It's just not for me.
But just going right for the jugular of Fortnite and Fortnite fans, I gotta give you some bonus points for that. So Bob is our winner. We have so many games left. Thank you guys for listening. And I guess loser speech, Mark?
I am sick and I want to go to bed.
Too bad. We got work to do. Bob, winner speech.
Oh, it feels good feels so good. And make sure you follow the podcast. It's not going to get you any V-Bucks or anything, but you can listen to me mock your silly interests endlessly into the future, because you should re-listen to every episode at least 10 times. You know that, right?
At least.
Listeners.
On every platform.
If you're not listening hard enough, we know what you're not listening enough.
Oh, we know.
We don't like that, you know? We don't like that. It's not good.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate it. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on all the different platforms. Is that what you do? Subscribe to it?
Follow, hit the plus, all kinds of stuff.
Whatever it is you do it for the podcast. You can find us individually. Mark is Markiplier. Bob is Mystrom. Back on Twitch now. I'm Wade, Minion777 or Lord Minion777, depending. We have merch at a place that I definitely remember the website name of. We definitely don't struggle with this every single time. What is it?
And Distractable Podcast.
Store.distractablepodcast.com.
That's the one.
Store.distractablepodcast.com. And I guess we'll see him whenever Bob decides to host next time. Until then, podcast out.
This episode is brought to you by Kerrygold. You can make those cherished moments at the dinner table even more meaningful, and all it takes is Kerrygold. Their butters and cheeses are made with milk from grass-fed cows that graze in lush pastures in Ireland, creating a premium flavor that enriches every meal and the time spent around them. Look for the gold foil in the butter aisle at your local grocer and tap the banner to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Carvana. Let's say you need a new car. Well, a new used car. Now this is my groove car. A U car. Now what if you could seal the deal and order it to your door 100% online? Buyer's remorse? No such thing. Take a week to love it or return it. Sound good? Carvana. They'll drive you happy. Availability may vary by market. Tap the banner, click on this episode's page, or visit Carvana.com to learn more.
Never gonna make a name for myself holding down the fort. When do I get to go out and prove my worth?
Military-grade armor.
New recruits, night shins training, weapons, and a base like this? We're gonna be invincible. California gonna make a name for myself holding down the floor. When do I get to go out and prove my worth? New recruits, night shifts training, weapons, and a base like this? We're gonna be invincible. Military grade car. California. The old world has so much to teach us. Why didn't I see it before? One day, I'll make night. Then I'll show those raiders who's boss. The efficiency Brotherhood responds to visitors. never gonna make a name for myself holding down the fort. When do I get to go out and prove my worth? I can do more than just fight. But how do I show that I'm fit to be a scribe when I'm put on patrol day and night? The old world has so much to teach us. Why didn't I see it before? One day, I'll make night. Then I'll show those raiders who's boss. The elders have so much to teach us.
California members show no signs of infectiousness.
Order, learning, protection. I have everything I need.
Radiation levels not. Some strange readings from somewhere below.
The settlers want to rebuild, but they're only looking to
Under this
I imagine the Brotherhood will object to the collection of blood samples.
Everything makes sense now. This is my place.